Welcome to the Trader a Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development, and this podcast is dedicated to the hit TV phenomenon, The Traitors, as well as sometimes other reality strategy shows like Genius Game and Million Dollar Secret. Most recently, before this season, we even covered The Traitors India. But this season of the podcast is all about the Traitors Ireland. And so far on the podcast, there has been a glaring omission to my list of guest co-hosts, and that is an actual Irish person. So I have recruited a previous co-host from another season to come back and help me out, not only because he's Irish, but because of his wonderful wit and humour and knowledge of the Traitors and reality TV. Let's find out who it is. Kevin works as an audio describer for TV channels, both in his native Ireland and the UK, and is also a podcaster, having produced and hosted the, in his words, mildly successful pop culture podcast Things Gay People Like since 2020. Personal favourite episodes of mine include the Wicked special and the Mariah Carey specials parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Kevin's spare time, he can often be found singing, whether that's in the two choirs he's a member of, coming up with a new jingle for his podcast, or wailing away to Mariah's back catalogue in his bedroom, as he is a certified, dedicated, and faithful #Lamb for life. Kevin, you're back on the Trader. How you doing?
Token Irishman checking in for duty. I'm doing good. Are you all right?
I'm doing very well. I promise it's not the only reason I've invited you on. You've been on the pod before. I'm very happy to have you back and have your
Oh,
wonderful insight.
so happy to be back. And actually, for the first time, I can say I've also been wailing along to new Mariah material because,
Yes.
as we know, as at time of recording, the album is out in 8 days, 9 days. Here for
Yeah.
it all, and the snippet of Here for It All that she put up on Instagram, the title track. I know this is not what people want to hear. However, it is everything to me. And I was singing it just before we came on air, and I absolutely cannot get enough of it. And I'm so
Yes.
excited, and I'm here for it all. Are you?
I'm here for all. It's giving me I wish you well. It's giving fly like
Oh,
a bird. It's gospel climax,
yeah.
possibly.
I'm so excited and thrillified. Obviously, there's wicked stuff happening as well. We've got a lot to talk about, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we could do, but you're a Traitors fan. You're a reality TV fan in general. You've
Yeah,
covered Big Brother on your
massively.
pod. You watch like Big Brother US as well, I think.
Yes, I do, but not this
Yeah.
season. I just
Oh.
decided, you know what? Whatever. I just had a lot of other stuff going on, and I said I don't fancy it this season. And from what I've heard, I don't know if you've heard much. It's taken some crazy turns, and everybody was like absolutely apoplectic about a twist that happened recently.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably better off not watching it. But I have watched probably the last 20 plus seasons of that, and I don't know why I didn't watch that. But I am going to watch The Amazing Race, which is coming up. I'm going to try to, which is all Big Brother people and their significant others. Have you heard about that? It's
Sort
like
of,
Big Brother
yeah.
USA people plus like their sister or whatever. And there's
Right.
a guy who was on Big Brother USA last year called Tucker, who was like my crush of the series, maybe for the past 20 years. And he's going to be on with his brother. So I'm definitely watching that. And I'm excited to talk about my crush of the Traitors Ireland as well, bringing it back on topic.
Is it by any chance Ben?
It is Ben, yeah.
He's a
It
very
is
handsome
lovely,
man.
Ben. He is, and I couldn't be more thrilled to talk about an episode than the bicep armpit hair episode, which is what this episode should be known as. I know you saw the shot. I hate to be a creep, but I may have paused. Let's move on.
I actually don't know what you're talking
It
about,
was in
but
breakfast. Watch it again.
good for you.
Watch it
Good for
again. Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. No, look, you know what I love about him is obviously like he's handsome and he's muscular and like all these great things. But he's like the popular sporty guy in school, but who was also nice to you because he just seems like
Yeah.
he's such a nice, a friendly, upbeat, good energy kind of guy, and I like those things in a straight man. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It seems popular, and yeah, this episode, Christine in particular is sort of accusing him a bit, but yeah, it seems like a. I mean, I had a slight issue with him a couple of episodes back when him and Nick were a wee bit patronizing towards some of the others, but generally, I'm
Right.
sure he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah, when we get a little bit of toxic masculinity in the mix, never goes well. But I think in isolation, I'd say he's probably lovely.
Yes. And I'm assuming that when you first, like I say, you've been on the podcast before, you've watched other versions of the Traitors. I'm assuming that when
Mm.
you found out there would be an Irish version, you were excited. How is it compared to your expectations, if you had any?
Yeah, so I was really excited and I was like, who is going to host it? I hope it's not X person, Y person. Don't want to name names. And happily it wasn't because there's kind of just this a stable lineup of potential presenters for this kind of thing. I think they kind of went outside the box a little bit with Siobhan. I think it's paid off massively.
Mm.
So, yes, I was very excited that there was going to be an Irish one. And I suppose I'll just say I've been very, very pleasantly surprised by how it's turned out. Not that I had, negative expectations, but it has happened in the past. There's been Irish versions of things, and maybe they don't quite match up. And I think this has been so entertaining. I'm proud to be Irish. I love how Irish it is, actually. I love the Irishness they've sprinkled into it. And I will say, as a person on the ground in the country of Ireland, Ireland is in the throes of Traitors Mania in that way that, like, I feel like the UK was in Series 1 and maybe possibly 2.
Yeah.
People, genuinely, everyone is talking about it. And it's really nice to kind of be in the midst of all that. My sister was on her Instagram story saying it's like the best thing that has ever been on Irish television. In general, I just think it's gone so well. And I'm just so thrilled that the country is feeling the love for it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. That's the impression I get from social media. And it's really funny that you say you were worried about how it might go because this reminds me that this show must have been announced back in like January because I was at a wedding in January and there were a couple of Irish people there who I was speaking to and we talked about the Traitors and they had seen the UK one
Okay.
and they were like, oh, we love it. And I said, oh, there's going to be an Irish one. And they were like, yeah, we're really worried about it. Like, we've got such a habit of like shows coming to Ireland and we just mess it up. And I was like,
Okay. Okay.
oh, so that their words, not mine. But I'm sure if they're watching, they also must be loving it. It's been such a great series.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasant surprise. So yeah, yeah, in all the positive ways, it's been just a triumph so far. Anyway.
Yes. Now, we are going to talk about episode 8 today. Before we get right into it, I've got a couple of listener comments to catch up on, referring to previous episodes. So I've got one here from, this is Zach on YouTube, who reminded me that yes, Matthew, 3 traitors have been caught in a row before. Because on the pod, I was like, this has never happened. This must be a first. And Zach was like, Matthew, you've literally watched seasons and covered them on your podcast where this has happened. So
Okay.
I won't name what seasons it is. I don't want to spoil things for people, but yeah, it has happened. I just, I forget these things. But what I will say is it tends to happen much later on in the game, right towards the end when there are fewer people left and fewer options, and so
Right.
there's more traitors caught and there are fewer left, and they kind of have to do it. But it's probably I'm going to bet it's the earliest it's happened in a season, maybe. So thanks,
Yeah,
Zach,
and
for the
probably the
reminder.
most impressive or the most unlikely because of that, because there were so many other options. And I did also feel like, oh, this hasn't happened before. 3 in a row. Wow, obviously it has. But like, yeah, it's still early-ish days. Yeah, for it to
Yeah.
happen.
Yes. And just one more comment. This is from Alice on Instagram. And Alice is like a dedicated Traitors fan and listener and always very kindly donates on the coffee.com page for the pod. Alice said, watching Ireland episode 7. And Alice is in the States, by the way. So many people in the States and North America are watching this too. Alice says,
Ah,
watching Ireland episode 7, and I'm continually impressed by how much Owen is getting right. Holy shit, so incredibly perceptive and observant. I've commented on that in the pod too. I am amazed sometimes with the things that Oyen seems to notice and
it's
completely.
almost laughable how she literally just reels off a number of completely accurate statements, and it's like she doesn't know for sure, and everyone watching it is like she's actually fucking spot on.
Yeah, yeah,
Queen, absolute queen.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan of her. So we've got some more listener comments to come to later on in this episode of the pod. For now, we are ready to dive into episode 8 of The Traitors Ireland. To start with, we've got our usual recap. So last time, after a traitor blackmail and four faithful put on death row, the round table ended with Andrew being banished, cutting short the father-son traitor pairing. And this left
Daddy?
Poddy... Daddy, exactly. And oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to say this on the podcast. I'm hearing that, like, in a lot of the Irish media, Poddy is being referred to as the Podfather.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, so the
I haven't come across
Podfather,
that, but I love that. I love that.
all sorts of memes on socials. The Podfather is left to blackmail once more, leaving us on a recruitment cliffhanger, and we're also on kind of another cliffhanger because we know there's going to be a murder, and it will either have to be Joe, Mark, or Patrick. My prediction in the last episode of the pod was Mark. And that was a genuine prediction. I had not watched episode 8 at that point, so
Mm.
I'm being quite smug with myself at this point. It will
Yeah,
not be
yeah,
the
yeah.
last time I'm quite smug with myself in this episode of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So we start off with our blackmail. We've got Poddy waiting, and who approaches but it's Nick. Poddy reveals himself, and like before, Nick sort of not surprised at all. He's just like, yeah, thought it was you.
Yeah, this is not a big shock moment. But can I ask a question actually? Are we doing the lie or no?
I we are not so anyone who doesn't know what Kevin's talking about, quite often in the podcast I play a game where the guest and I have to tell a lie to one another and at the guest I've sort of we're not been to playing that this series. I've sort of
Fine.
put it aside because like there's 3 episodes a week, it's a lot to get through. I'm running out of things
Okay,
to lie
okay,
about.
okay.
I am going to resurrect it, I think, for Celebrity Traitors UK. So
Okay, fine.
just
Okay, fine. I find it so stressful, by the way, like trying to fit my lie in and trying to think about what your lie is. It's fun to listen to. I'm glad we're not doing it. Okay, yeah, go on.
okay, okay. Yeah, the pressure's off. You can, I mean, I might still lie to you anyway,
Yeah,
but
sure, 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 sure.
won't be for any game. It'll just be for my own fun.
Malevolence.
So,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Nick immediately tells Poddy, like, you're kind of in trouble. And Poddy's like, oh, I know. And he accepts the offer this time. He's not going to be murdered and go home. And he tells us, the viewer, it's a little earlier than he wanted, but why not? He joins. And Poddy like hands over the cloak to him and he goes, I expect you to be a loyal traitor. And I just love the idea that now Poddy was probably told to say, like, say this, hand over the cloak.
Mm.
I love the idea that Poddy's just ad-libbing and just like is like really in character and says whatever he wants. And he's just like, I expect you to be loyal, Nick. And the
Yeah,
producers
yeah.
are like, "Mm, okay, Poddy, like go for
Let's
it.
go with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
I thought Nick, there were some shots of him like in the cloak, like from beneath, and whatever it is about his bone structure, whatever, he just looked amazing. He just looked so cool in this cloak. It had like a cinematic almost quality. And I'm not that big a fan of his, and he's not my show crush, whatever. But I thought he looked great in the cloak. So well done, Nick, for that.
yeah, well done for being tall and
Just like
suiting a
looking
cloak.
good in the cloak. Can I ask? Can you tell that he is like his accent is almost like the poshest Irish accent that is possible, or is it all just like oh they all sound Irish?
Uh, I can tell differences between them. I wouldn't have necessarily like picked him out and said,
Right.
"Oh, he's really posh," but like I can tell that to me, Amy has got like a really thick accent.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
so I can hear the differences, and I guess Poddy as well. But
Yeah, well,
I
yeah. Paddy's kind of a country accent. Amy and Ben have like a typical Dublin accent, and Nick is like super super posh. So I was just wondering if that came across, but yeah, like I mean, obviously,
okay.
yeah.
To an extent, I can tell the differences, but I wouldn't be able to place them in like parts of the country.
It
So
puts a
yeah.
whole other, sociological layer onto it for Irish people
Mm,
watching. We see these differences in perceived class and that kind of
yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting a lot more out of it over here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. And
Mm.
there are other like aspects of to me and outside it, the way they've produced the show that they've really like embraced the Irishness of it. Like it's not exactly the same as the UK version. Like particularly with the mission in this episode, the Pishog, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah. I love
love
the.
how they've made it feel it's got its own world in Ireland, in Slane Castle,
Mm.
and it makes sense to be there. So yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my God, I don't have to pretend I went to see Harry Styles at Slane Castle, which was going to be my lie. That's such a relief. I also the Irish language stuff as well in episode 2, I think it was, absolutely
yeah,
loved. Yeah.
yeah. Do you speak Irish, by the way?
I do Duolingo every single day. But no, like I did it for
Okay.
every year in school, and I came out knowing how to ask how to go to the toilet and to say I like ice cream. And now I'm like, as a somebody in my 40s, I'm like, I wish I could speak my native language. Like, why
Yeah.
can't I? So I'm trying, but like I know loads of words. I may not be able to have a full-fledged conversation. I could say the basics. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, Magica, who co-hosts with me quite often, is doing his
Mm.
Irish on Duolingo and has like been doing it for a couple of years. He can coach you. He can like he's doing amazingly. He's so impressed. I mean, he speaks like three different languages. Like he's very impressive with that sort of
Right,
thing.
right,
So
right. Amazing. Okay.
yes. So we've got Poddy, we've got Nick. Nick's on board. Hooray! Poddy's telling us I'm willing to work with him if he's willing to work with me. And Nick reckons he's in like the perfect position in the game now because he thinks he's probably cleared his name. Like he thinks most people think he's a faithful. So this is now actually pretty good for him.
Mm.
He says he's nicknamed himself the Traitor Slayer, and now he can be a faithful Slayer. Ooh.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, which reminds me, you've even got an episode of your podcast about a Slayer, Buffy, right? So
Yeah, and
there you
coming
go.
back, being rebooted, or they're trying to do a new version of it, new Sunnydale. But yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Slay.
I wasn't even a Buffy watcher, but I listened to your episode of the podcast on it because they're always just fun and interested. So
Oh, amazing!
there you go.
You should watch Buffy.
I know it's weird that I don't. Like it would
Yeah,
be the kind of thing that I would have liked as a
I would have
teenager,
had
and
you
it
down as
it's
A Buffy guy.
yeah, just
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of passed me by. But hey,
Okay,
maybe I'll revisit.
do.
It's time for breakfast then, and Nick arrives first with Oyen, and he makes a sport reference that just goes by me, Kevin. He says this is going to be like shooting a 65 round a golf course. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
what these words are. So I
me
wrote it
neither.
down. Sport. Man and sport.
65 must be a good number when it comes to whatever that sport is. Oh, golf was it? Yeah, it must be a
Yay.
good number. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
Love.
65.
Go 65. The players who arrive now, it's sort of not much of a surprise for most of them because we know, well, it's going to be one of the three people on death row. So it's not a surprise when everybody's coming in. We know what's going on. And for the
Mm,
players there, like they know who's coming back first. Christine and Ben theorize a bit about Andrew, who of course has just been banished, and they reckon he must have been recruited. There's no way he was one of the OG traitors, surely. And that across the episode, that seems to be like the accepted idea amongst everybody that Andrew was brought on at some point recently.
mhm.
Uh, Ben reckons there is. He's got this theory, and he comes back to it later on as well. He thinks there's like a master traitor. There's someone whose plan has been to keep recruiting the most likely person to be banished next, and then just throwing them under the bus, which isn't. It's not really what's happening, but I understand why he's got that idea. It sort of makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. He's like, we're being fed traitors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking that's not what Poddy's doing. Like Poddy's just having a great time and seeing,
He's
happy that
just
he's still there every day.
bumbling through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No master plan, I don't think.
Nah.
Amy arrives and tells some of the others this that she sits down and she's saying, Mark told me yesterday that if he's not here tomorrow, it means Patrick's the traitor. And I've talked about this already on this season. They keep doing this. Like this is like the third time it's happened now where someone goes, well, that Kevin's just been murdered. And you know what he said to me last night? He said if he was murdered, that the traitor was Matthew. So it must be. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's not working. Like they
yeah.
what did Mark know? He doesn't know who killed him, like in
Yeah, yeah,
advance.
yeah. There's no information. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh
Oh,
we,
can I also, has it been mentioned on the podcast how supposedly Mark is like the funniest one? You know, in that task they did a couple of episodes ago, I think it was episode 6. And like,
yeah.
that's great that they all found him funny, but we didn't see that, I don't think. Like, from a
Yeah.
storytelling point of view, maybe that was a bit of it. Like, he didn't, it wasn't funny to me, but I'm sure he
Yeah.
was to them. I would like to have seen more of that, I guess.
we did talk briefly about that. Yes, that,
Yeah, okay.
and I can't even remember now who the co-host was at the time. But yeah, whoever I was with, it was Lindsay or David, or they went, "Mark's funny." What?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I guess
Yeah.
so. His jokes, maybe he's like making hideously like unpolitically correct jokes, and they can't
Right,
include them in.
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Too hot for TV. Yeah.
Maybe some like
Yeah.
really raunchy material, and they
Okay,
can't show
okay.
it. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to slander poor Mark.
No, of course not. Of course not. R.I.P.
I was going to maybe I shouldn't do that. More players arrive, including Kelly, and she says that Andrew's dead to her now. I think she's joking. I don't know if she's totally joking. And
Hmm.
she assumes correctly that there has probably been another blackmail. Because again, she also they all kind of know there's probably only one traitor left, and there's been a
Yeah,
recruit
yeah, yeah.
blackmail, so they've got an idea of the numbers. Faye arrives, it's her birthday, hooray, happy birthday, and now we're down to finding out who has really been murdered. While they're waiting, Poddy's doing a bit of maybe I'm giving him too much credit, like gathering intel. So Faye and Wilkin are both thinking of going for Patrick tonight, and Poddy's paying close attention to that. Faye also claims that Joe told her yesterday to grill Vanessa, and Poddy's like, interesting, latching onto that.
Hmm. Hmm.
The door knocks, and walks Joe, followed by Patrick, which means Mark is gone, and everyone, when they see Patrick, just goes,
Oh.
oh.
How much would you
And
hate
then
to
they're
get
like,
that
sorry,
reaction when you walk
Patrick.
into a room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's you.
Oh,
Poor
yeah.
Patrick. So we get our flashback. How did this all come about? Poddy suggests that, well, we don't see much. Poddy just says, I think we should go for Mark. And Nick agrees that Mark's a smart player. He's dangerous. He might come for them if he realizes. And Nick even points out that Mark is good at lip reading. Uh, so I
Mm.
guess maybe that's like they worried they can't have like whispered conversations in case Mark
Yeah,
catches
that's
them.
that's a
Okay,
good point. Did he
sure.
say that in this episode, Nick?
Yes, yeah.
Ah,
Uh,
that's very insightful. That's a good point. I think I must have missed that. I was still thinking about the other shot at breakfast. Anyway, okay, yeah, cool.
before we get back to breakfast, actually, maybe your shot's not happened yet. I don't know.
Okay,
Mark receives his letter and he sort of says he's not surprised. He could see it coming and he's glad he got to play as a faithful and he didn't have to lie at any point, which to me is kind of boring. Like, I would want to lie in this game. I'm
right.
there to be a traitor. I would have great fun. But no, Mark didn't want to do that. Back at breakfast, Siobhan arrives. She's in a good mood. At some point, there's a really appealing shot of Ben, apparently,
Yes,
and
there is. I'll send it to you.
can't wait.
Sorry.
New background, and yeah, she's asking, "Oh, has anyone been kidnapped?" "Oh no, just a boring old murderer." Takes Mark's picture down, throws it away, and gives them their clue for the mission today. She asks, "How's your phone manner? See you later, baby dolls." Little shout out to Mariah there as well, baby doll.
Oh,
And
yeah,
classic deep cut.
yeah.
And some of the Siobhan goes off. Some of the ladies get a bit suspicious about Vanessa because she just like flippantly said dead ass. Like when
Hmm.
Mark's picture, and they're like, "Why is she saying dead ass? Why is she being so uncompassionate?" So that's what happens. People say little things, throw something
And
away,
dead
and
ass just
people
means like seriously, right? It's just like a way of saying, oh no,
just
seriously,
like,
as
"Whoa,
opposed to
yeah,
like his dead ass or whatever, which maybe they thought it was some element of that. But if she's just saying
yeah,
dead ass, no, seriously, whatever. Yeah, okay. But like
yeah, yeah,
I think I've said on my last appearance, you do kind of cling to whatever, don't you? Just whatever you
yeah,
think could possibly be an indicator, you kind of
yeah."
just run with it. Yeah.
Of course, and yeah, it's so easy for us to make fun of them for these things, but when you're in the game, you so are just in the dark, and you do have nothing to go on. I did a podcast episode recently about this Traitors live experience in London, which I went along and
Yes, I need to
played, and it was
listen to
great
that. Actually, I really
fun.
want to hear about it. Yeah.
And one of the things that happened in our game was, after the very first sort of murder or whatever it was, some players were convinced they heard a noise at one side of the table. So they're like, I had definitely heard a noise over here. That was somebody taking off their blindfold there. I had no idea what they were talking about. But
Right.
for the whole game, people just kept coming. They were like, well, there was that noise. There was the noise we heard. And
Yeah.
I still don't really know if that noise was anything, but it was just
Right.
it was the only thing people had. So they
Okay.
just desperately clung to it, which was fascinating.
Yeah. I need to listen to that because yeah, I really want to. Like overall top line? Did you have a good time?
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. You'd
can't
recommend?
recommend it enough. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah. Really so immersive and fun and
Mm.
a bit pricey. It's like 30, 40 quid. But you're there for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
You've got a host, you're playing the full game, it
Did anyone
looks
happen to be
incredible.
listeners of your podcast?
No, and
They didn't
that I
want to
know
mention
of.
it. They were starstruck. They were starstruck.
Well, I very actively kept it a secret from them
Ah,
because I
right.
thought that it might make them suspicious of me immediately.
Yeah.
And I revealed it to my fellow players after the game was done, and they
Ah,
were sort of
okay.
shocked and horrified, which was a
Oh,
fun
that's a good
moment.
reveal. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
So we get some chat around the castle. We head off for breakfast. Christine tells Patrick that he's off of her list tonight. Instead, she's moving to Vanessa. That's where her trader is leading her. She also tells Ben she thinks he might be a traitor and maybe he recruited Vanessa. And Ben's joking around like, well, I would have killed you a long time ago. You're really annoying. In a joking, loving way.
He's like,
And
maybe I'll kill you tonight, right? It was kind of flirty. Like I know he has a girlfriend or whatever. If he spoke to me like that, I'd have a flutter. I would definitely have a flutter. It doesn't take much
maybe
to get one though
look,
from him.
these players are going to become like Irish celebrities for a while. Ben will be doing some like appearances and meet and greets. You might get to meet Ben in the flesh.
Oh my
Uh,
God. Yeah, I think I've
uh,
already incriminated myself enough on this. Yeah.
he's not going to listen. Uh, at the same time, Ben reckons that Christine's sort of gotten off lightly so far. He's like, no one ever suspects her. Maybe she needs a bit of heat. And I don't know if he actually thinks she's a traitor. I think he's just annoyed that no one ever seems to bring up her name as a potential traitor.
He says Christine has
Meanwhile,
a bone with me. I love when people say phrases wrong on TV. I don't know why. It just
yeah,
amuses me. She has a bone with me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That happens all the time in the show. It's great.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Joe and Vanessa talk. They actually have this really fascinating discussion, and we don't get a lot of it. They sort of talk about the immigrant experience, which just I just loved hearing them talk about this. They were talking about the idea of always feeling vulnerable, and like Joe, we know that Joe, she talked about coming from Poland and having to be really self-sufficient and hardworking. And I think Joe is bringing this sort of lone wolf energy to the game. I
Hmm.
don't know if that's wise, but that's the way she's going to play it. That's the way she feels. Uh, and then, again, for the second time and not the last time, I'm going to be very smug about something. She, Joe says, I'm actually thinking about Faye now. And this is exactly what I said to Lindsay in the last episode of the pod. I said,
Hmm.
I think Faye's going to be in trouble because of this mission where she saved Christine and gave her the shield. And the players afterwards were like, why did you all save Christine? And they were like, oh, it was because of Faye. So I thought this was going to come back to bite her. So yeah, Vanessa
Right.
and Oyen agree. They're like, yeah, maybe Faye's a traitor and she put Christine on death row. And then she deliberately saved her to get closer to Christine and look like she's like a nice savior. And so I did sort of predict this moment, I'm just going to say.
Okay. Well,
Um,
listen, kudos to you.
Thank you. It's time for our mission. Siobhan gathers the players outside the castle, asks them how they feel about scary dolls and haunted woods and clowns. And so I think I know what's coming, and I've kind of seen missions like this in other versions of the show. She tells
Yeah.
them it'll be a test of memory and their communication. So we are going to have one team in the castle, one team in the forest. The forest team have to find scrolls that teach them spells that'll bring these haunted dolls to life. The dolls will make noises. They have to phone the castle, mimic the sounds. The castle team have to find a corresponding doll. The mission is worth €3,000 and they have 30 minutes to complete it. They split themselves up, and as they're doing that, Siobhan reveals, oh, hold on a minute, there is a shield available in the castle. And what strikes me is how everyone's quite meek about that. Like, no one wants to be like, I want to go in the castle. like they're all quite polite and or maybe not polite, but I think no one wants to appear to be like desperate for it because they're
Mm.
worried about how that's going to look. So they've kind of divided into teams and they're like, oh well, I'll just stay where I am, I guess. Like Faye's like, man, I wish I hadn't come over to this. Like she could have been like, wait, I've changed my mind. And they don't. They're all just like very yeah, they don't want to just they don't want to stand out too much. So
Yeah.
uh I even think Ben's like, well, I don't it's fine, I won't take it. Which is quite risky. Like that might make you look like a traitor, but uh, so the other teams in the castle team, we've got Vanessa, Owen, Poddy, Patrick, Amy, and Kelly. In the forest, Christine, Ben, Nick, Faye, Wilkin, and Joe. Off they go. I won't go through the mission step by step. It's not that much important stuff going on. I'll just pick out some highlights for me, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin, throw in anything you think I'm missing out. It's quite funny watching the Forest team doing all their mad, like hold their noses and honk and stamp around. Wilkin does a little Ashley Simpson jig.
Yeah, yeah. And Ben's like, no, no, we're stomping or whatever. It's like, let him
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
And can I also say the robot is not interpretive dance?
Right,
That
exactly.
annoyed me. No.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's like I think they were too embarrassed or something, and
Yeah. Oh,
so
let's just do the robot. Like
uh,
lame.
disappointing.
Yeah.
They don't know what a marionette is either at first.
A
It takes them a
marionette.
minute.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
marinette, a
Yeah.
marinade, um, and
Yeah.
it is quite funny seeing like Nick and Ben and Wilkin making these insane noises down the phone. What I really laughed at is Wilkin's one was just like a scream. So he's just
Hmm.
like screaming, and Patrick and Kelly on the other end are going, "Sorry, could you do that again, please?"
Again?
Like, can you give us like a bit more nuance in that? Like, it's just a scream. You'll figure it out. It's you don't need to be that exact.
I
Uh,
did you notice this? There was a moment where I think it was Ben who was making the sound, and the other people who were listening, they just as they hung up, someone goes, "Oh, ghosty," and Ben goes, "No, not ghosty," but they'd already hung up. So, like, I want
yeah,
to know from a production standpoint, like, they obviously didn't have a phone line running between them. So, like, they had hung up, and Ben was like, "No, not ghosty." So I just and then at one point, some of them were talking into the earpiece of the phone. I just
yeah.
want to know practically how that was all happening, or was like, how did he hear the word ghosty? I was like, something's up there. But yeah,
Are
it was fun seeing them screech and squeal and all that stuff was good.
are you implying that those phone lines weren't real,
I
Kevin? Like,
don't, I don't know. I don't know. I would have totally
excuse
bought
me?
it, except for that moment. I was like, wait a second. Yeah.
You mean that everything is not quite as it seems? No, I
Those
refuse to
phone
believe
boxes are
that.
on every corner here, actually. So yeah, it's all
Every
legit. It's all
forest in
legit.
Ireland has a phone box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I guess maybe they're just playing it through a speaker or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Who
I don't
knows?
know. I don't know.
The castle team very early on decide that if one of them finds the shield, maybe they should just play it as a group and do this sort of group immunity thing. Don't tell the others who found it, and then we'll kind of all be safe. Like the traitors won't want to target any of us, which is
Mm.
smart. And Vanessa is the one who then finds it. She's in a room with Siobhan at the time. The mission goes well. Like they do everything they're supposed to do. They win the money. Yay! And Siobhan is with the castle team still, and she asks them if the player who found the shield will reveal themselves. Vanessa pulls it out, and yeah, they all agree. Right, look, let's not tell that other group. Let's go ahead with that. And but Vanessa then makes this sort of false conclusion. She's like, yeah. Well, we won't tell them because if one of us dies, then we'll know the traitor's in this room. And I'm like, well, not exactly. Like, I don't think the traitors would be that dumb that they're going to
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
the
true,
traitor
actually.
and the traitor could be in the other group and just take like a shot in the dark and try and kill one of you.
Totally.
So
Totally, totally.
don't know if that's the best way to think. So we cut to everyone reconvening and the castle team revealing that, one of them has a shield, but they're not going to tell them who it is, which
Mm.
sucks for the forest team because it makes them, a bit more at risk now. They're probably one of them is going to be murdered.
Mm.
Nick and Poddy have a little quiet chat later, which is quite risky. They're sort of sitting back whispering I mean,
There's a
maybe
lot
there
of
are.
that in this series, I think.
Yes, yeah, there are.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe it was worse before because it was like the three traitors got together and had this heated discussion. Maybe it's not so
Yeah.
bad because like there's only two of them now. There are fewer
Yeah.
players. Maybe at this point people are just kind of in twos and threes, so it doesn't seem that weird.
Fair.
But
Fair.
but
Fair.
yeah,
Fair.
they do have to be careful that no one can overhear them, and they're sort of whispering about who's likely to come up tonight at round table. So Nick's saying, "I've heard Faye, I've heard Nick, I've heard myself, my name Ben, Patrick," and he says to Poddy, "I actually haven't heard your name. I think you might be okay." This
Mm.
same sort of conversation's happening in the kitchen with some of the women. Uh, Although Vanessa has been a bit cagey, she's talking to Faye, so she doesn't want to say, "Well, actually, I might come for you." Um, so yeah, we're about to go into the round table, and as you would expect, that's these are the conversations. Who's coming up? Who are you going for? What should I do? Should I go for who I'm really thinking about? Should I not? And as we head into the round table, it seems to me, although I think I end up getting this completely wrong, I thought it was between like Faye and Patrick, and actually Faye kind of ends up escaping things. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
and it's Wilkin who ends up being in trouble, but
Yeah.
Siobhan arrives, tells them that the prize is now €26,900. She congratulates them and reminds them, as per usual, the traitors might just steal the lot at the end, and reminds them that they have caught three traitors in a row. So discussion begins. Jo starts off tonight. She lays out this theory that we talked about before. She's got this theory about Faye. Maybe Faye's a traitor. She put Christine on death row. Then she saved Christine really conspicuously. And Faye's like, well, I can't really argue with that because it's not. Well, she says it's not based on anything I've done or said.
Oh, this
Kind
is
of
the most
is.
annoying thing. Yeah, the most annoying thing. It's a theory, not something I did or said. We don't need to hear it multiple times. We hear it like 17 times.
Yeah,
Really piss me off. But yeah, and it
yeah.
is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of. I wanted someone to say, well, it is based on something you did. It's based on you saving Christine, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I didn't just make it up. And she then defends herself by saying, "Well, it wasn't just me. Before the mission even started, Kelly was in the other team, and I said to her, 'Can you also try and save Christine?' Like if I was a traitor and I was really confident I was going to save Christine, I wouldn't have to beg someone else to help me." Okay. Uh,
Mm.
Vanessa comes at Faye too, and also it's about Christine, but it's this time she finds it weird how Faye, um, yeah, about the way that Faye wanted to save Christine, but no one argued about it. Like none of the other people on her team voted otherwise. But to be fair, that's not Faye's fault that none of the guys questioned her. They just went along with her. So I get why Faye might be annoyed at that. She's like,
Yeah.
well, I just said I wanted to save Christine. It's not my fault. Everyone agreed with me.
Yeah.
Uh, and now Amy comes for Faye, and Faye's like, what the hell is going on? Why is everyone coming at me tonight?
Yeah.
Amy says back when she suspected Faye at the start, Eamon was there and he was like really adamant it wasn't Faye. So now Amy's like, well, now I know Eamon was a traitor. Was that him protecting you? Things move away from Faye finally. Ben comes at Patrick to suggest this theory again. The traitors, maybe there's one traitor who's masterminding everything and they're just recruit every night they recruit the next biggest suspect to instantly get rid of them.
Hmm.
And he thinks maybe Patrick's also like a late recruit and that's the reasoning behind it. Uh, Patrick does this sort of very sensible. He's like, no, let's talk about the difference between what's probable and what's possible. And
Yeah.
basically says, well, hold on a minute. You've got all these actual clues from Nick about Poddy and Andrew. And it's all about them doing this gesture of ripping up the letter. He's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really strange and something to focus on. You saying you think I might have been recruited by someone, but you don't really know isn't strong as that. Why would you pick that above voting for Poddy or Andrew? Well, not Andrew, he's not here. Uh,
Mm.
and Poddy jumps in. He's like, I didn't even know Andrew did that. And Patrick's like, that's even worse that you both did the same thing at the same time. Like, that's weird. Nick and Poddy argue about it. So we know they're two traitors, and now they're kind of being forced to argue because of what Patrick said.
Yeah. And
Um,
didn't he also say like it's possible that Wilkin could be a traitor. I think that was one of his like possibilities, and everyone was like laughing and stuff because, like, bless him, Wilkin, just absolutely clueless, does not know
Well,
what is going on, and I love his bewilderment and just like crazy takes that he has, or like
yeah, oh yeah.
vague level of engagement in the whole process. I love
Yeah.
what's going on with him. Yeah,
Well, absolutely. Like, Christine actually comes for Welkin quite soon after this, and
yeah.
she goes, maybe you're playing an amazing game. And I'm like, no, no, hun.
Props not. Props not.
And I actually couldn't really follow what Christine was talking about here. They're referring to something that happened days ago with Eamon and Kelly
Hmm.
saying, "Yeah, you voted for me the other night, and you said one reason at the round table, but then I heard you saying something different later." Like basically, they just think, like you said, Wilkin just throws out these bizarre reasons
Yeah.
for voting for people,
Yeah.
and no one really knows what he's doing. So they're like, Is it because you're a traitor and you're just a bit mad?" Um, and the funniest moment of the round table for me is Nick turning to Will or Wilkin and says, "Can you just give us a concrete example of a clue that you've brought to the round table?" And he goes, "No."
No.
He goes, "No, I'm not doing that." I'm
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean you're not doing that? Like, does he mean
Wilkin
that?"
is playing his own game, and that's what's happening.
And I can't follow if he means, "No, I'm not doing that," as in, "Yeah, you're right, I've not been bringing clues," or if he means, "I'm not doing this conversation." Like, no, no, I'm
Hmm.
not doing this. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Either
yeah, yeah.
way, it's just strange.
He
I'm
never
like,
explains it. He just refuses, and on we go.
yeah, God love him. But sometimes I've said it many times, and this show, actually being a bit clueless, could get you really far in the
Oh
trailers.
yeah, and it makes you perfect fodder in a televisual sense for being horribly betrayed at the end because you're like trusting and maybe a bit naive, and then oh no, I didn't spot the traitor at the end, and then like it's a satisfying ending. So like who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Attention does come back round to Poddy briefly, and Poddy's saying, "Well, yeah, yeah, I voted out Eamon and Caitlin. Surely that means I'm not a traitor." And Oyen, my hero, comes in here. She asks Poddy to revisit. She's like, "Wait, we need to come back. You had this weird conversation with Caitlin and Eamon a few days ago under the stairs." And I thought everyone had kind of just moved on from that. So I'm glad that Oyen's like, "Wait a minute. Why have we all moved
Hmm.
on? That was really odd." And she's like, "What the hell were you talking about?" And Poddy sort of tells the truth. He's like, "Oh yeah, they came to me to give me an out by coming for Patrick." And Oyen
Right.
very wisely is like, "Yeah, but why would they come to you about that? Like, why would they care so much to save you?"
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah. Actually.
a bit more chatter goes on, and while it looks like everybody's kind of talking at the same time, we capture a little moment between Joe and Oyen, and Joe just sort of suddenly says to her, like, who are you going to vote for?" And I think Oyen says, she's going for Faye? And Joe now changes it. She's like, "No, no, I'm going for Will. We don't have the votes for Faye." And so
Hmm.
Oyen's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, all right, okay." So she suddenly has to change her mind. And Siobhan then reappears to ask them to get their votes down. Here we go. I'll The votes end up kind of being quite straightforward. Oyen begins and votes for Patrick. So yeah, she has like had this sort of last minute hurried change, I think, because of what Joe's just said to her. Joe, Patrick, and Kelly all vote for Will, and then Poddy, Amy, and Nick all vote for Patrick. Christine votes for Will too, which means we've got a tie. It's four each. And but then from here on, it all changes direction. Basically, the next four all vote for Patrick. It's Will. I'm amazed actually that Will figured out it might be smart to vote for Patrick because it would sort of help save himself. So I was actually
A
quite
triumph,
impressed.
a triumph. Do you
Yeah,
think is it commonly accepted that the producers put people in order of how they think they might vote to make it as tense as possible? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But like,
absolutely.
how do they know? Are they
Well,
monitoring their conversations that closely, or do you think they actually say to them, "Who are you voting for?" Probably, and they go, "Oh, Patrick," and they go, "Right, you're sitting here."
no, I think well, I mean, obviously the room's just fitted with cameras, so they can see
Yeah, but
what
like, do
people
they
are
take them
writing.
aside or something? Oh, okay. Oh,
I
yeah,
think
okay.
they can see on their monitors who's everybody written on their slate, and they'll just sort of say, right, everybody, you can't change now, just hold on, sit still for 5 minutes. And I think they just sort of have 5 minutes of not being allowed to speak while the producers quickly go, right, here's all the votes, where's going to be the most exciting place to and they just sort of quickly figure
Oh,
it out.
right. So the order is the order, but then they decide who's the best one to start
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I hadn't considered
yeah,
that. That's fair. Can I also make an official request to the producers of all versions of The Traitors? When people are talking about things that happened in previous episodes, or maybe even earlier in that episode, could we have a little flashback if there's like conflict or confusion?
yeah,
Because there's always conflict and confusion in my brain. I'm like, I don't know who's telling the truth. And like my
yeah,
housemate who I watch it with, he always remembers. He's like, yeah, they said that that's she's right or whatever. But I glaze over a lot and I zone out and I just have other things going on in my brain. So I when those conflicts are happening, when it's literally you did say this, no, I didn't. I'm
yeah,
like, I'd love a little 5 second, 10 second flashback. They do that on
yeah.
Big Brother USA, and I would appreciate that in future.
Yeah, they do it sometimes on like Big Brother UK. They have like the grayed out
Yeah,
flashback to show us to
yeah.
prove something.
I
Yep,
need that. I'm sure other people do as well. Maybe not everybody does. People like me need that little helping hand to follow everything. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a great point. I mean, probably
Mm.
because well, sometimes my memory is terrible from season to season, but because I'm making all these really detailed notes and then I'm talking about it on the podcast, I've got a
Yeah.
pretty good memory. But if I wasn't doing this, I would similarly struggle to remember what people were referring to from previous
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah.
And you're missing part of the story then because you don't know who is being like completely who's correct in whatever situation it is. I'm
Hmm.
like, well, I wonder who's right. Don't know. Can't remember. It was 25 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. So yeah, we know that Patrick's going because it's just this, you know, series of votes for him now. Faye votes for him, and at this point, if he gets one more, he's gone. And the next is Vanessa, who has obviously realised there's also no point in voting for Faye, so she just goes to Patrick, who was her other option, and Ben votes for Patrick too. So Patrick stands, he does his goodbye speech and says, "What a blast. One
What a
thing nobody
blast.
can take away is that I was part of the crew that got three in a row. Unfortunately,
Not that
your
big a thing,
streak,"
but okay.
but yeah, he tells them their streak is broken. And as soon as he says that, they're like, "Oh," and he tells them he's a faithful. And as he leaves, there's just this chorus of like, "Bye, Patrick. Sorry." Poor Patrick. So Siobhan, of course, acts very disappointed in them and says, I would say have a good night, but I'm not sure you will." Off she goes. Uh, and Nick and Poddy, we get a couple of their little interview clips. Nick's quite happy with how this all played out. Poddy's having a great time. He's loving life as a traitor. How has he made it to episode 9? I don't know. So we leave the round table. We've got a little bit of a debrief as the episode is coming to a close. Well, I thought the episode was coming to a close. Little did I know there's something really important is going to happen.
Yeah.
Vay gets upset because so many people came to at the round table. She didn't expect it. Again, I sort of yes, I predicted this may well happen last time. And Amy comes and apologizes, and so does Joe. And they're like, "No, look, it's just a game. You defended yourself really well. It's not a big deal."
Hmm.
And Siobhan then appears talking to us outside the castle and tells us that she fancies a change tonight. The traitors will not meet in the conclave. So I'm very excited because I sort of roughly can guess what's going to happen. They're going to choose a
Yeah.
murderer via a different method. We see Nick receiving this letter that explains what to do. We don't see Poddy get the letter. So I just assumed,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
obviously Poddy's got it as well. But then a little bit later, Poddy doesn't really seem to know what's going on. Like Nick's the
Nick
one
has to
who
tell him.
has to tell him. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if Poddy's letter was just a bit briefer and was like, "You'll commit a murder in plain sight, instructions to follow," or something.
Right,
Or
right,
your fellow traitor will give you more information. Or I'm like, did the producers just not trust Poddy?
right.
That they're like,
Like, guys, this has to work, so let's
"Yeah,
just
this
tell
has to
Nick.
work. Do
Yeah.
not tell Poddy." Like, let's just get Nick to do it and he can tell Poddy quietly. But I don't
But
know. I don't.
it makes it opens up a potential good TV moment for them to have to find for Nick to have to find an opportunity to say it to Poddy and all the
Yeah.
rest. Do you know, there's very few things on TV I find more stressful than watching this stuff. Like
Yes.
the trying to find the thing and then trying to do the thing. It's really like it's a highlight of each series for me, but it is stressful to watch. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. That's almost literally what I've written in my notes, is that these murder challenges make me so tense.
Yeah.
Like, and it's partly because, yeah, we're watching people sneak about, so it's just naturally quite exciting, but also
Hmm.
knowing that this is the kind of show that you can't do retakes. Like, if someone gets caught out,
Mm.
they're fucked. Like, you can't be like, everyone
Mm.
stop, pretend you didn't see that. Like, if they get
Yeah, yeah,
caught, they're
yeah, yeah,
caught. It
yeah.
would create a
Yeah.
total disaster. So, like,
Yeah.
imagine that even being on set as like a crew member, you'd be like, oh, we can't step in. Like, we're just gonna have to
Yeah.
let this happen. Oh my God.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I love watching it.
Perilous,
Yeah.
perilous.
So what Nick has to do is, well, the traitors have to place a Pashog on someone by finding the Pashog book on the library shelf and following the instructions inside. So yeah, we've got Nick. Nick's trying to escape Ben's attention because they're buddies and they hang around. He's like, well, Ben's gonna notice if I do something weird. He has to wait for Ben to leave. He's
Mm.
checking all these books in the library, can't find the right one. Poddy's just chatting to other people. I don't know if he's deliberately been the distraction or if he just actually doesn't really know yet what's happening.
Yeah, I actually I shout out to like the 10 or 15 seconds of chat about how you get your tax back or whatever he was talking
Yeah,
about because it was like it was so weird to hear them just talking about something that wasn't the game. It's obviously what they talk
yeah,
about all day. I was like, "Oh, we're talking about tax returns. Cool."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was
okay.
really funny.
And Nick's like,
Um,
"Where's our jackets?" Oh yeah, upstairs.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
do wonder if Ben was like, "Why the hell's he asking for his jacket?" It's
Yeah,
like,
he should have picked up on that. Yeah.
maybe he's got a vape in the pocket and he's desperate for a vape. Who knows?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but eventually Nick gets Poddy alone and he's quickly whispering instructions to him, and then they sneak off to the library, and I just can't bear
Hmm.
watching it.
No.
Poddy's keeping watch at some points. Nick just cannot find this book. Poddy wanders off. Ben looks like he's in the hallways. Finally, Nick spots the book and reveals that the Pishog must be delivered by a hug. So the first person hugged by a traitor will die a slow and agonizing demise.
Hmm.
I at this because Nick's reading this alone, I just would have loved for the comedy of it all if Poddy accidentally hugged someone before Nick had had time to come back
Oh,
and
yes.
explain it all. And I'm just imagining Nick being like, Poddy, we have to hug some, and Poddy just going, oh.
I don't think Poddy's
uh,
much of a hugger. I think
well,
other
no,
people would be.
he literally says, I'm not being smart here. I'm not a fucking hugger.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Which I feel must be the name of this episode, actually. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, they're having to like really hurriedly chat about like right who we gonna they don't have loads of time like in the dungeon to talk to go through everybody's name and strategize about who would be the smartest. So they
mm,
kind of are just like, well, Nick's like, well, it's gonna have to be someone from my team in the mission. Like somebody in the other shield, somebody in the other team's got the shield. We have to pretend we don't know that. I do notice that maybe Poddy did say something and we just don't see it. We don't see Poddy say like, oh, by the way, it's Vanessa who's got it. Don't know if that makes a difference. But they just
oh
decide
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
ignore that altogether.
Okay.
And they end up settling on either Joe or Christine. Like Nick's kind of like, well, I think that would be the most believable, like and natural. Like Ben might think it's weird of a hug. And but they'll just have to pick whoever's kind of easiest in the moment.
Mm,
Uh, in another room, we get a little snippet of Christine talking to some of the girls, saying she heard Nick and Ben whispering about being glad the heat was off them. So she's really got it in for Ben now.
mm,
And some of the others are like, yeah, I can imagine Ben being like one of the OG traitors. Maybe he recruited Nick. And we don't get a lot more of that because Nick appears, the players all start moving to the other room, and Nick's having to like, just hover around and try and pick his moment. He's lingering around Faye at one point, and
mm-hmm.
like, Christine and Joe and Amy appear. And Christine actually makes it really easy for him. It seems like she just walks right towards him with a glass in each hand, arms
Yeah.
open, and just walks right to him. So he
It
does the
felt so
natural
natural. It's
thing.
so easy. Like you would never like thinking back over what happened the previous night, like the next day. You would never be like, "Oh, that must have been what it was." It was, yeah. You would never
Yeah.
pick up on it. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
Nick. Nick must have been delighted with himself. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely seemed like she initiated it. So it's
Mm,
perfect for him.
yeah.
And as soon as he hugs her, the episode ends and the credits appear.
I love that
So,
it was like, what didn't they say like before the clock chimes? But they didn't say like a particular time until before production are satisfied that it's happened or whatever. Yeah,
of course, yeah.
yeah.
Wait, you're doing it again. You're implying that not everything is real here, Kevin. I
Oh,
won't have
sorry.
this.
Those of us who work in the biz can't help but like peek behind the curtain, Matthew. I'm
Of
sorry,
course,
or
of course.
try to. Yeah.
Now, normally we would do our predictions here. First of all, there's not much to predict about the murder. It seems like it's
Mm.
going to be Christine. We could predict the next banishment, but you and I both know a bit too much about the next episode. So actually, we won't do our predictions. We've got a good idea of what's going to happen for various reasons. So, uh, any sort of before we get to a couple of listener questions, was this a good episode? Did you enjoy it? Are you enjoying the season at this point?
This was a good episode. Yes, I kind of felt like when the doll thing came in, I was like, oh, well, I've kind of seen this, but it was a bit different to how it's been done before. And it was fun to watch. I thought the round table was good. I really liked the last, as much as I said it was stressful, that whole thing about the curse and the stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's always a great moment in any season, any series of the show. So I was happy for that to be happening, especially as what's this, episode 8 of 12, so like we're into the cycle. We've seen the cycle happen a
Hmm.
few times, and I do like when things are shaken up a bit, and especially with and I do like the if we are to assume that's what's going to happen in the next episode, the whole the somebody dying slowly and all that stuff. That's always fun. So yeah, a good episode. Like definitely very a lot to enjoy, a lot to appreciate, and kind of sad to say goodbye to Patrick, but not really. So I wasn't particularly disappointed. None of my faves, like my faves, probably Owen, Ben, Vanessa. None of them went. So happy. Yeah, definitely happy.
Okay, fantastic. So I said we would go to some listener questions and comments. First of
Mm.
all, this is not really a question, just a chance for me once again to be smug. This is a comment on Spotify from Sarah Dell. Sarah said, Matthew, no wonder you have a job in TV development because you were spot on about why they added in the narrative about Faye picking Christine, because people did in fact use this against her in episode 8. I think Faye handled herself well though in her defense. Thanks for the brilliant recaps and theories. Thank you very much, Sarah, and yes, I will take the compliment. We've
Defo.
also got a couple of voice notes, which is great. Again, the really funny thing is all the voice notes we've had this season are from North America. So
Oh, okay.
no Irish people, just people in North America loving the pod and the show. So
Right.
uh,
Amazing.
we're gonna start off with a voice note from Alyssa.
Hi, Matthew. Alyssa here in the US, and I'm a huge Traitors fan. I've watched all the English language versions, and then I come listen to your podcast afterwards. So I love your coverage of it, especially whenever it's you and David. Yeah, you two do a great job. All your guests are wonderful, but David especially is interesting to listen to. So I had a question about the Traitors Ireland, or traders in general, but all the blackmails in the Traitors Island made me think of it. What would happen if someone was blackmailed, turned it down, took the murder option, and then the next day the remaining traitor was banished before they were able to blackmail again? I'm sure they have to have some thing in the back pocket to do in that case, but I just wondered if you had any ideas as to what that might be. Production would have to do something because obviously you can't have zero traders that early in the game. So just wonder if you had any thoughts about that. Looking forward to your next podcast. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. That's a great question, and I do have an answer for it,
Oh, because
based
I
on
don't.
experience. Yeah, I was gonna ask, have you seen any seasons, Kevin, where someone has refused the blackmail and just says, "Just murder me"?
I think so. Did that happen in Australia?
Um, it happened. So I'll try and say this without spoiling things. So it didn't
Yeah.
happen in UK or US. It happened in another country outside of those. So
Okay.
there was a country that, and you may have watched the season where this very thing happened.
Okay. Oh wait,
Traitor,
and the remaining traitor was banished.
no, not quite, because they
Oh,
don't let it
sorry.
get to that point.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So
of course, of course.
if a player, for example, if Nick had said to Poddy, "I don't want to be recruited, just murder me, I'm not taking it," instead of it's instead of Poddy then having to just go back in and wake up the next day and then he gets banished, they just make Poddy pick someone else the same night. They just make them keep going until they get someone who says yes. So it's
Would everyone be murdered who says no?
they would, but it's just so unbelievably unlikely
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
they just bet on that not happening. So in all
Okay.
the versions I've seen, I'm pretty sure I've only seen at one time that a player said, "I'm going to refuse recruitment. I'll just be murdered," which
Why
blew
would
my
you?
mind and blew
It's
the view.
crazy to me.
It's
Okay.
crazy. There's kind of a reason for it. I
Okay.
again without spoilers, I interviewed that particular player on the
Ah.
podcast,
Okay.
and they said they wanted to make a big splash, which they did, and go out in a really memorable way. But they also
Okay.
knew they had so much suspicion on them. They were like, I was going to get banished the next day anyway. And so I just decided, do I want to be banished? And then I have to say I'm a traitor and it's going to be so annoying. Or do I just say I'm out and make an amazing talking point? So they just decided to do that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so if that happens and the player says, no, I'm going to be murdered, Siobhan would come back to Poddy and say, Poddy, you must now pick another, and make him do it again. And it would be unbelievably unlikely that the second person would say no as well. So they
Right.
just
Right. Right.
they just keep going. So they would never allow a whole episode to go ahead with one traitor. They just
Okay.
make them keep going.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
there we go. I have another question as well from Niku, also in North America. Here we go.
Hi, Matthew. This is Niku from Toronto, Canada. Love the Traitors podcast. Can't imagine watching the show without it, or else my boyfriend would just get incessant, nonstop comments from me all the time. So thanks for that. I was also wondering what you thought was going to happen to Nick and Ben because they don't seem that popular with the group right now. I've noticed that the men who usually do really well on Traitors and get like closer to the end tend to play a really good social game, especially with the women in the group. Thoughts on that? Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for that, Niku. I sort of it's interesting that you think they're not that popular right now. I don't know if I would fully agree with that. I think they've escaped that sort of moment of unpopularity. I think what maybe was it episode like 5, 6 when Caitlyn was banished and they got really annoyed at everyone and they were like, "You should have listened to us. We shouldn't have got rid of Caitlyn." And they really pissed everyone off and they were quite patronizing.
Mm, hmm.
So I think they've come through the other end of that though. Maybe I'm wrong, but I get the impression people have moved on and they're nice enough guys that people have sort of just yeah they've made up. They're still all pals. And like we said at the beginning of this episode, Kevin, Ben seems to be like a pretty popular guy amongst the group. I know
Yeah.
Christine's been a bit odd with him now and is starting to suspect him, but I think she might be alone in that.
I think that has the energy of like poking at someone just because not to make any assumptions, but you know when you're just like you're kind of into someone and you just want a reaction, you just want something from them. That's what I'm suspecting's going on there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would love like obviously the two of them are so close. We've seen it before in certain other versions where really close friends like do each other over at the end. Like in terms of like ideal world TV wise, I would love to see like their bromance completely decimated by a betrayal at the end. That's what I would like to see.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
I have a similar prediction. I know I said I wasn't going to do predictions because I know a little bit about what's coming, but actually I don't really have a full picture. My guess is that Nick actually, similarly, actually, I think Nick might get rid of Ben. He's, I can see it going both ways. I can see
Mm.
him like at some point, if he's got the chance, try and bring Ben on board, and the two of them are traitors together, and so
All right.
maybe their social game doesn't matter that much because they've got lots of control now. But I've got a feeling Nick might be really smart and just, even though Ben's his new bestie, he might just murder him and get rid of her.
Do the
I don't
smart thing.
know.
Yeah. Okay.
But in terms of their social game, yeah, I think they're not doing too badly. I actually think they're not any more unpopular than anyone else. That's my impression as a viewer. I'm not sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I do like the idea that's, and it is a great question. It is a great way to think of things. So thank you, Nico. Now, before we wrap up, I've mentioned your podcast several times, Kevin. Tell us a
Hmm.
bit more about it. Tell us where we can find you. You've kind of got, I guess, podcast news. There's like new stuff coming, right?
Yeah, so and I think I also mentioned this on a previous appearance, but anyway, I like making podcasts and then I like long periods of not making the podcast because there's just a lot of work that goes into it. But I do enjoy it, and my podcast is called Things Gay People Like, and every episode I talk to somebody about something they like. It's usually pop culture focused, in fact, always is. And I really enjoy it. I've had some great conversations. I think the podcast has a nice little following. People seem to enjoy it. And yeah, I really like making it. I've had some great guests, like including you for the Wicked special, the Wicked episode, and then to come back and talk about Wicked, the first film. And of course, we must get you on for Wicked for Good, coming out in November. Can we talk about? I think during your episode, I was saying, I think we ranked all the songs, and I was saying how much I love the finale, like the very
Oh
ending
yeah.
of the album. And have you seen that it's not listed on the soundtrack for Wicked for Good?
Yes, I saw the new track listing with a couple of new songs, and like it
Yeah.
even looks like there's a new song that's going to start the film. I didn't recognize the name of it.
Is it
Maybe I'm
no
wrong.
play? Oh, sorry. Every Day More Wicked.
Yeah, yeah.
But like that's kind of what they sing, isn't it, at the start of Thank Goodness. So I think they're just
I
separating
guess
that.
so.
Like there's
That's
like Every
okay.
Day More Wicked, but
Yeah.
obviously there's like No Place Like Home, which is Elphaba's new one,
Mhm.
Girl in the Bubble, which is Glinda's new one. But if we don't get the proper finale, well, I won't do much, but I'll be unhappy.
I can't imagine they're really going to not include that in the film. Like it would be very weird.
Yeah,
Nothing's
maybe
going
it'll be
on.
incorporated into For Good, the final track.
Yeah.
But cannot wait. So excited, and also cannot wait to have you back on the podcast as well.
Very excited. And what's the easiest way to find the podcast, and where are you on Instagram?
Yeah, so if you look up on any of your podcast apps, things gay people like, that's where we are. And in terms of Instagram, it's at Gay People Pod. On Instagram, I put up like the next topics. Also, I ask for people about their opinions on the topics because I incorporate that into the episode. So there's usually stuff happening on Instagram. But yeah, it's a fun little hobby, and I enjoy it. So yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to be gay to listen to the podcast, right?
No, you don't. No, you don't. And like, if I could go back and think of a different name, maybe I might. But yeah, you don't have to be gay. Even have a disclaimer at the start of every episode, like, not every gay people like these things, and like, I can't remember it's been that long since I've done it because I'm just resuming the podcast now. Yeah, no, you definitely don't have to be gay, and you don't have to be anything other than just someone who likes podcasts that are fun. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As
Good pitch.
for,
Good pitch by me.
yeah, yeah. As for this podcast, you can keep up to date on future episodes, the Traitors, other shows we might be covering on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Trader Podcast. And you can leave comments in all those places. Although I will say, and I should say, beyond episode 9, I will not be on the pod. I've said this already. David Bloomberg and Magicer are going to take over while I venture to far off places where I may even meet Kevin.
I may
So
also be there.
any questions or thoughts about episodes 10, 11, 12? Send them to David Bloomberg. On the next episode of the pod, he'll tell you how you can do that. But in general, you can send me messages. I'm not going to be on the moon, so you can actually contact me. And you can even email me at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com. Or you could do what Alyssa and Niku did and send a voice note to memo.fm/thetradarpodcast. And one final thing for now is that there is merch for the pod, and actually some of it just arrived today because I was very excited about it. I now have my own Trader notebook where I can do all my notes
Amazing.
during the pod. I've got my little sticker that will be going on the back of my laptop. So there's all sorts of things that sometimes it's just the text, or you can have like the whole image and all
This is
sorts of
next level. This
exciting
is next level kind of stuff. And
phone cases. Like I've
oh,
got.
unreal.
So it's if you are interested in having a little look, that's at thetrader.redbubble.com. So it's a much easier web address than I thought it was. Before I was like, oh, it's really complicated. You're just gonna have to
Yeah, no,
search
that's
for it.
cool.
Thetrader.redbubble.com. And if there's anything on
Congrats on the
there,
success of the podcast, by the way.
oh, thank you very
Like
much.
obviously just by virtue of what we just heard, like you've listeners all over the world, slash they were both in North America. But still, I just think what you've done is very commendable, and congrats.
Oh, thank you so much. And it would be wonderful to have you back again on the podcast at some point. Hope this has been fun to talk about episode 8 of Traitors Ireland.
Always, and no stress about the lie, which was amazing.
Next time, we'll lie next time. And again,
Okay.
maybe I did lie. Who knows? Maybe those voice notes were just me putting on an accent and nobody sent those in.
Mhm.
So, thank you very much, Kevin. And thank you, listeners. Until next time, keep us on your radar. Bye bye.
Bye.